Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to build out our post detail page. The post detail page will hold the individual detail for each post. This is going to include all comments on an individual post, the ability to edit or delete this post if you're the author. So we have all of our backend APIs set up, so let's go ahead and work on our client-side interface. So the first thing that we want to do is navigate to our app directory and create a folder named post. Inside of the post folder, we want to create another folder by the name of open bracket ID close bracket. This is going to represent the dynamic ID of the individual post, and it aligns with our Next.js client-side routing. Inside of the ID folder, let's add a file named page.js. Inside of our page.js file, let's start with our imports. First, we're going to bring in use client. Then we're going to bring in use effect and use state. Then we're going to bring in use sessions from Next-auth. Then we're going to add some React icons to help with styling. Then we're going to bring in next link to help with client-side navigation. And then finally, we're going to bring in use router from Next navigation to help with routing post submission of our form. So now let's build out our post details component. This is going to be a functional component that's going to receive the CTX object as a prop. This is going to initialize several state variables using the useState hook to store things like the post details, the like status, and the number of likes. We're also going to use the use session hook from Next-auth like we've done in prior videos. This is going to help us manage the individual user session. And we're going to use router, like I mentioned previously, to help with the routing within Next.js. So let me go ahead and add in the CTX, pass that into our component. We want to use the use effect hook to fetch the post details whenever we change the session or whenever the session changes. Inside the use effect, it's going to be an asynchronous function called fetch post. This is going to send a GET request to our backend API to fetch the post details based on the ctx.params.id parameter. We're going to use that post data to update our state variables, set post details, set is like, and set post like functions. Now, inside of our component, we're going to have two event handler functions, the handle delete and the handle like. The handle delete function is going to prompt the user prior to sending the delete request to the backend API. Our handle like function is going to do a put request to the backend API just to toggle the light status. And here's the breakdown of the code for these two particular functions. Now, with those functions cared for, let's move on to the return statement of our component. First, we'll start with the section tag, and our class name is going to hold the width of our screen. Inside of our section tag, we're going to have a couple of divs. The first div is going to contain the container, which is going to hold the content of our post detail page. The next div we have will wrap the content in our page and also apply some margin. We're going to have another div inside of this div that'll hold the content, and we're going to set the flex direction to column. So now we want to begin to populate our post detailed information if the user clicks on the See More option on the main home screen. So let's go ahead and test this out. So in order to display the post detail, or the post title, I should say, we're going to use an H2 tag. Inside of our H2, we're going to have our brackets. The brackets are going to hold the use state variable that we created earlier. So in order to bring this in, we'll have post details.title, since that's what we want to display first. So let's go ahead and test this out just to make sure it's working properly before we continue on with the rest of the design. So let's go ahead and save our screen and navigate back to our localhost 3000. So back on our main home screen, if we click on See More, it appears that it is redirecting to the API route versus the actual post route. So let's do this. So let's go ahead and go back to our home screen. And if we navigate back to our text editor, and if we go to our components folder, and inside of components, let's click on the post.js file. Right here where it says See More, the link, as you can see, we have it pointing to API/post when we need to just have it pointing to /post/ the dynamic ID. Let's go ahead and remove the API from the route. If we save our file and go back to localhost 3000 and click on See More, We now see that we're getting the title on the post detail page. And if we look in our URL, we see that the route is going to /post/ID. This is the ID of our individual post. So it appears that it is working as designed. Now we want to care for the rendering of the edit and delete buttons. If you are the account holder, or if you are the author of the post, you have the ability to edit and delete the post. Otherwise, you're just going to see the author's name. So let's go ahead and work on that now. So back in our page.js file underneath our h2 tag, let's go ahead and bring in another div. This div is going to hold the conditional rendering of either the edit and delete buttons or the author's name. We'll start with bringing in our brackets, and inside of our brackets, we're just going to do a little bit of validation. So inside of our first conditional statement, if the author ID and the session user ID match, we're going to render the link to our post edit page that we haven't created just yet. And we're also going to provide the option to delete the post. Notice with our delete button, we also have our handle delete function that we created earlier. We're passing that in our onClick method. Now for the else statement of our conditional rendering, if we do not have a match between the author ID and the session ID, we want to render the author's name on the page. So just to make sure that this is working properly, let's go ahead and save our file and navigate back to our localhost 3000. And if we refresh our page, we should see the edit and delete buttons on the screen because we're logged in as the user that created this particular post. So it appears that the rendering is working as designed as well. So now let's go ahead and add in the rest of our post details. So back in our page.js, underneath the div we just created, let's go ahead and add in a span. This particular span is going to hold our category. So inside of the span, let's add in our brackets, and then let's add in post details.category. Outside of our span, let's go ahead and add in a p tag for our description. And in order to bring the description in, we're just going to follow the same pattern, post details.descript, DESC. And underneath the p tag, let's go ahead and add in a div. This div is going to hold our likes. So inside of the div, let's add a span. And inside of that span, let's add in some brackets. The first bracket, and this is just going to be an open and close bracket, it's going to be post likes. This is going to show the amount of likes that we have on this post. Outside of that bracket, let's open up some more brackets with parentheses. This is just to give a little bit of space. And then the next set of brackets is going to hold the conditional rendering of either the fill icon or the outline icon of our like button, or our like icon, I should say. So first, inside of the bracket, we'll have is like. If it is like, then we're going to show the fill icon, and we want to pass in inside of that fill icon, we want to pass in the onClick method to handle the like, or we want to display the outline, meaning that this user has not liked this post. So they have the ability to like the post, and if they click it, then it'll change to the fill. So let's go ahead and save our file and go back to our localhost 3000. We should see that we now have our post details on its individual page. We're now getting the category, the description, and the like on this detail page as well. Now, this won't be the last time that we use this page. We will need to add in the comments, but we'll come back and do that after we've completed out the edit functionality. So we've now completed our post detail page, so it is working as designed. In the next video, we'll work on editing a post. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like and consider subscribing. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.